What's up, good people? Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I appreciate you guys because you are my sounding board. You know, sometimes I come up with crazy ideas, sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong, and so on. And of course, I love football. I really and truly do. Even though sometimes it's pain and agony watching the Cowboys, and when you hear some of the things that you hear, I'm trying to understand something right now. I'm trying to understand the Dalvin Cook situation. Dalvin Cook, who is a $380,000 it's like cap hit that the Cowboys constantly say, not this week, it's not ready. And here it is, Kareem Hunt, who's been sitting on the sofa, gets called up by Kansas City, and immediately he's put into the lineup. Now, granted, he does know Andy Reid's system and all, having played there, but it had, was it 64 yards or was it 80-some yards? He had almost as many yards rushing for Kansas City coming in his first game as all of our running backs combined. I find it hard to believe that Rico, Zeke, Hunter Lipke, and Deuce Vaughn, that all of those guys are better than what, are better keeping them on the field than seeing if Dalvin Cook is actually split or not. I have a hard time understanding that one. If he is that far gone, and I'm imagining that he's probably wanting to play. You know, he tweeted this morning, you know, basically the prayer hands and stuff. Like, please, Jerry, please, Jerry, please give me a chance. That he wants to play. Is he that far gone? And if he is, why did we sign him? You know, this on the tail of the Cowboys, of course, not signing Derrick Henry because they say he was too expensive. He cost too much money. You know, as we speak right now, here's the crazy thing. We have $23 million of cap space. We have $21 million of dead money. Now, some dead money is unavoidable. Sometimes it is what it is. Somebody gets injured like Michael Gallup did, although he's only, I think, $4 million this year. He's $8 million next year. But you have to understand, last year, when we got Zeke off the roster, we played dead money last year. I don't think people understand that we're paying dead money this year as well for Zeke. Another $5 million. And so you have to look at this as a direct correlation, because a lot of people will say, well, Dak Prescott, you know, they paid Dak, so that's why there's no money to pay these other guys. Yeah, that's true to some point, that he does eat up some of the money, but he's producing as opposed to the guys that were paying on on the dead money rosters. And I get it because, you know the funniest thing, and I have not seen Leo. Leo's not been on the Saturday show the last couple of weeks. Leo has said, I want to see activity. Remember how everybody used to say, well, the Eagles, they've signed all their players. They've got all their key players locked up for the next, 3-4 years. You know, it's funny that nobody's talking about that anymore. Nobody's talking about how the Eagles went ahead and got these deals and stuff, and they made them team friendly for this year and stuff, so that way they could get all these people signed. So that way they could bring in Dalvin White. That way they could sign Josh Huff, and that they could bring in Saquon Barkley and all these players. They ended up signing to long-term deals and kicked the big payments down the road. In which case, it's looking like some of these guys they signed aren't going to pan out too well. And some of the draft picks that they've gotten, where they drafted all these players from the Georgia Bulldogs, that maybe, just maybe, thinking that you can just take a college defense and we'll just put that in the NFL and they're going to be winners. Very few of those guys are really producing when you look at the Eagles defense. And so I get it. We would like to see some big name players sign. But, we can look and we can say the Raiders are trying to shop Devontae Adams. You can say the Cowboys and the Raiders have traded with each other 10 times. And you can look and say, that's a natural fit. But here's the reality. Cowboys aren't going to do that. We can talk about, Hassan Reddick. You can't go back to the Eagles. The Jets can't get him signed, that they might be interested in moving him. But he's already $17 million, and he's going to look to get, a 3 or 4 year deal. And the guy's 30 years old, and you have to look at this and say, there were rumblings about him in the locker room with the Eagles. And he certainly didn't make any friends, it seems, with the Jets. That maybe that might not be the type of guy to bring in. The reality is KJ Henry, that's the kind of moves that the Cowboys are going to make. That they're always going to make. They're always going to look and say, we don't want to get tied up with all these big contracts of guys that we don't really know. We like to draft them. We got them for 3 or 4 years or 5 years with 5th year option. Before we have to sign them big money, then we feel like we're pretty sure what we're going to get and that we're not going to get screwed. Although it seems like whenever they sign the big contracts, they get screwed. This is the part of being a diehard football fan that loves football. It just gets to be hard. The Cowboys, they'll drive you mad. They'll drive you crazy. Anyway, KJ Henry, young guy, has some potential. Maybe he could end up being like, a Dorrance Armstrong or a David Irving. You never know. We've signed a lot of guys that were considered bottom tier free agents, and they've turned out to actually play pretty decent. Maybe better than some of these guys that have been paid a boatload of money. So there's that. Anyway, good people, it is kind of crazy right now. We seem to be losing so many famous people. Now, here's the reality. Yes, we've lost John Amos, from Good Times. We've lost the guy from American Pickers. Lost Pete Rose. We lost Dominique Mutombo. People that we've seen and as athletes or actors and things like that, and bring them into our home and things through television. But the reality is they're just a drop in the bucket of all the people that we lose on a daily basis. That hurricane that came through may be one of the most devastating. I don't know if the deaths total will be as high as Katrina was. I don't know that they'll ever find out exactly how many people may have died from Katrina. But there's over 130 confirmed dead, and there's still hundreds of people that are missing. And it touched not just Louisiana like Katrina did. It just basically made a swath from Florida through Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, into Virginia. It's unbelievable. And all of those people that were lost, I'm sure they weren't expecting that. It's going to be the last few days I have here. I hate to sound sad and morbid, but for me, it's one of the reasons why I try to do everything that I can to look out for my family, look out for my fellow man, put the knowledge that I have, whatever knowledge I have out there, and maybe it'll help somebody else, and see if there's some way that I can leave my mark. This technology here is very short-lived. I mean, it hasn't been around that long. And doing what we've been doing here at the Red Brick House, we're working on this place that's 205 years old. We're working on making a walkway that's a timeline of history of the world for the 205 years that this place has been here. Of the world, the history of this house, and some of the local history. And all of the people that have been here, most of them are forgotten. We know their names, but there's nothing there that you can look at and say what they sounded like, what they looked like. There's a few pictures here and there. What life was like and so on. That's the cool thing about this is when I'm gone, everything lives on in the internet. That people will be able to go back and see some of what happened with this house. They can see me and know what I looked like, how fat I am, and what my voice sounded like, or how nappy my hair was. And I think that it's going to be cool for my kids and things to be able to say, there was Dad. And that's the cool thing about doing this. I think about it and I go back to the video that last night, the last time that Stuart Morrison called into the show. I think about Rashid after the Cowboys tore him up, beat him up bad before Thanksgiving, and going over to where Rashid was staying and taking him a few things and seeing him with a bag on his head. And he said, throw in the damn towel. I'm throwing in the towel, man. That those memories will forever be there. But what I always tell you guys is, make sure that you let everybody know how you feel. Because you might not get the chance again. And I love you guys. And I'm going to go in here, do what I always do, take a shower, and go hug my wonderful wife. Peace out. God willing, see you guys tomorrow.